41 games are in the books. The Yankees are 26-15, roughly 25% of the way through the season. They are a game and a half out of first place. And with a quarter of the season in the rearview mirror, I think we can kind of gather some opinions on what we've seen so far from the 2024 Yankees squad, identify a few trends, and make some predictions about the next 75% of the season. Happy Mother's Day. We're going to go position by position. Let's get started.
Welcome to Yankee Stadium.
Just when they thought I was out, they pull me back in.
Let's begin with the catching situation. Austin Wells, former first-round draft pick. He was number 28 overall in the 2020 draft, just 24 years old. He came up last season, and he showed some impressive power down the stretch. He had 75 plate appearances. He hit 4 home runs. This year, he's had 80 plate appearances, 65 at-bats. He's got 13 hits. That's good for a 200 average. He's got a 325 on-base percentage, just 1 home run, and a 648 OPS. But if you look at his StatCast numbers, he's been very, very unlucky. Recently, he started to run into more hits, but if you look at the StatCast metrics, he's near the tops of the league in pretty much everything but in limited plate appearances, so he doesn't qualify. If you look at framing, he's in the 93rd percentile, and in fielding run value, he's in the 72nd percentile. All we heard about him when he was coming up was, can he stick at catcher? And I think he can. He's looked really, really good behind the plate. And as the weather heats up, some of these long fly balls that he's hit that have been caught on the warning track or come up just short in the first half are going to start going out of the ballpark. He had his first home run against Baltimore last week, and he's hit some doubles recently. I feel like Austin Wells is really a nice first-round pick for the Yankees. I think he's going to pan out. And so far, I'm pretty impressed with what he's done on both sides of the ball. Been a little bit unlucky, but I think he's going to turn it around. Jose Trevino also off to a pretty good start. Now, he's not thought of as being the offensive threat that Austin Wells is in terms of power, but he is hitting .282. He's got 2 home runs, a .333 on-base percentage, and a .699 OPS heading into today's game. So he's got better overall numbers than Austin Wells. If you look at his StatCast percentages, he's in the 93rd percentile in fielding run value. He's in the 100th percentile of framing, and he's pretty good at not striking out. Whiff percentage and strikeout percentage among the best in the league. Again, not a lot of great offensive numbers otherwise in the StatCast metrics anyway, but his traditional numbers look pretty good. So I think he's going to continue to get a lot of playing time, and hopefully Austin Wells can learn some things from him defensively and continue to develop. All right, let's move around the rest of the infield, shall we? One of the big questions coming into this season was whether Anthony Rizzo would bounce back from that post-concussion syndrome that held him down for the second half of last season and caused him to miss so much time. He suffered a concussion in May. It went undiagnosed. He went months where he couldn't make contact. He had just 1 home run after the concussion against the Royals. And this year, the question was, would his reaction time be back? And so far, it has been. He's got 7 home runs in his first 167 plate appearances. He's hitting .260 with a .335 on-base percentage headed into today's game. His batting run value, according to StatCast, is in the 91st percentile. Now, the range at first base and outs above average is in the 62nd percentile. But I think every Yankees fan who has watched Rizzo this year would say he struggled a little bit defensively, at least early on in the season, though he has turned it around a little bit lately. Barring another injury, I think Rizzo is pretty much a 25 home run guy who's going to hit between .250 and .270 this year and play adequate defense, which is really all you can ask for from him. You know, guy is 34 years old. I'll be interested to find out if the Yankees bring him back or if they have some other plans for the first base position. Now, we do have a log jam of outfielders, obviously Judge, Soto. I don't know if you can really count Giancarlo Stanton. He's clogging up the DH spot. He has not played outfield yet. We'll talk about him more later. You got Dominguez. You got Spencer Jones coming up. You got Verdugo, who's been excellent. They might have to move one of these outfielders to first base if they feel that they're a better long-term option than Rizzo at first base. And this can be done. Bryce Harper has become one of the better first basemen in the league after moving from the outfield last season. So I'll be interested to see how that shakes out, but if Rizzo stays healthy for the rest of this season, it's not something the Yankees are going to have to address until the offseason. Gleyber Torres has undoubtedly been the biggest disappointment in my mind. He's coming off of a season in which he was very good. Last year, he hit .273 with 25 home runs, 13 stolen bases, and an .800 OPS. But all of those numbers have fallen off significantly so far through the first quarter of the season. He's hitting just .207. He's got 1 home run. He's got a .290 on-base percentage and a .543 OPS. So he's been pretty much miserable. If you look at his StatCast numbers, there's some positive signs. His fielding has been above average somehow. He doesn't seem like a good fielder, but according to StatCast, he is. And I don't get the base running thing. They list him as a base runner who is in the 75th percentile, so top quarter of the league. But every time I see him on the bases, he's getting thrown out or doing something stupid. So I don't get it. Now, because the Yankees don't have a long-term commitment to Gleyber Torres, I think he's in danger of losing some playing time or losing his job completely if he doesn't start hitting. The Yankees need some more offense out of that second base spot. You can't carry a .543 OPS, especially when you've got guys like John Birdie and Oswaldo Cabrera who've been playing pretty well so far. Gleyber Torres needs to get going and fast or he's going to be out of a job. Anthony Volpe off to a much better start this season than he had last season. Last year he finished at just .209 with a .283 on-base percentage. This year, those numbers way up. He's hitting .268. He's got a .354 on-base percentage. He's got 5 home runs. So he's on pace for the same kind of power, but raising his average over 50 points. He's got 8 stolen bases, so headed into today's game, he's on pace for over 30 this season. And if you look at the StatCast numbers, he is well above average in terms of batting run value, base running value, and, of course, fielding run value. He won the Gold Glove last year, and I think he's having an even better defensive season this year. You see the range there, 99th percentile. Arm still not the strongest for shortstop. He's in the 30th percentile. Sprint speed, 86th percentile. We know he's fast. You see his spray chart. He hits the ball all over the ballpark. He's showing more power to the opposite field. I want him to continue to hit line drives. I want him to grow into that leadoff spot. That means getting on base any way you can, continue to draw walks, less of a focus on home runs, more on line drives and base hits. And I think he will eventually become one of the best leadoff men in all of Major League Baseball. 25-year-old Oswaldo Cabrera has been getting a lot of reps at third base in the absence of DJ LeMahieu and thankfully the absence of Josh Donaldson. .252 average so far, 4 home runs. The Yankees are 4-0 when he homers. He's got a .295 on-base percentage, so you'd like for him to get on base a little bit more. OPS is at .685. So after that hot start, he's kind of come down to earth a little bit, but I've loved what he's provided to the Yankees so far this season. The StatCast numbers tell the story of a guy who struggled defensively. He's in the 7th percentile. Arm strength in the 27th percentile, range or outs above average in the 3rd percentile. So obviously not doing the job defensively according to the metrics. He hasn't seemed that bad to me just from the eye test, but the rest of the numbers not terrific. Offensively, you see a lot of blue there. That means that his offensive numbers are well below league average, but in the whiff percentage and strikeout percentage, he's been making more contact. As a role player, he's done a decent job, but I think what we've seen from John Birdie, who we're going to talk about next, is that he's getting ready to take over that third base job for the rest of the season. John Birdie was a late acquisition for the Yankees. They got him just before the season started. He hit .294 last season with the Marlins. He stole 41 bases 2 years ago with the Marlins. And this year he's hitting .294 again. He's only got 2 stolen bases, but he's only had 37 plate appearances, 34 at-bats, .333 on-base percentage. He's not a power guy. He hit 7 home runs last year. I don't expect him to hit many home runs this year, but he is hitting line drives, and he is dangerous on the bases. He's got very few StatCast metrics because of the sample size, but they do have him in the 90th percentile of sprint speed. So keep an eye on John Birdie as somebody who could have a really good and really impactful second half for the Yankees. All right, next we are going to move from the infield onto the outfield, and we're going to start with Alex Verdugo. Off-season transaction. They got him just before they picked up Juan Soto, And he has been exactly what the Yankees have needed for a long, long time. A good defensive outfielder who makes contact, who has a little bit of pop, who's got some energy, who plays hard. When I look at Alex Verdugo, I see a gamer. A guy who gets up for big games, for big moments, who draws energy from the crowd, who plays hard, who is not afraid to get dirty. Look, say what you want about all the different necklaces and all the tattoos and whatever. I don't care what the guy looks like. I care what he plays like. And, he's not afraid to lay down a bunt. He'll hit you a big home run. And StatCast has him as a very good defender, 83rd percentile in the league. Chase percentage, whiff percentage, strikeout percentage, all things the Yankees have struggled with in recent years, and he is near the top of the league. Walk percentage, he's in the top quarter of the league. Range, he's above average, 85th percentile. Now, if you look at his average exit velocity and barrel percentage, hard hit percentage, sweet spot percentage, they're not that great. But that's because he's trying to make contact, and he doesn't really care that much about smoking the ball somewhere. He just wants to put it in play. And I know that as a fan of the Yankees, that's something that I have missed from this offense for a while. Guys who are just up there to put the ball in play and make something happen, I get tired of watching the strikeouts, and he's been a breath of fresh air. Next, we're going to talk about the captain, Aaron Judge, who is recovering after a tough start. He leads the Yankees in home runs with 9 and 149 at-bats. Usually in about 149 at-bats, he would have 13 or 14, so he's a little bit behind his pace. He's hitting .228, 363 on-base percentage. We know that he's a 400 on-base percentage guy. 2 years ago, it was .425. Last year, it was .406. And the power's coming back. I mean, he hit a 473-foot home run the other day. He was struggling on fastballs early in the season. Now he's matching up with those fastballs that are 96, 97, and he's driving them. Not just making contact, he is driving them. As we dive into the StatCast numbers, batting run value, 74th percentile. He's usually in the top 1 or 2%, so you got to think that that's going to progress as the season goes on. You look at the average exit velocity, 95.8 miles an hour. 100th percentile, best in the league. Walk percentage is in the 97th percentile. In the outfield, playing center field, he's almost in the top quarter of center fielders. He's in the 73rd percentile, and obviously the arm strength in the 70th percentile. I think Aaron Judge is a fine center fielder, but I do kind of want to get him out of center field eventually. I think either Spencer Jones or Jason Dominguez, more likely Spencer Jones, is the long-term option in center field, but it'll be interesting to see if they play him in center field for this entire season, and if they do that, what will happen next? Surely Aaron Judge is not a long-term center fielder. Will he move back to right field? Will the Yankees re-sign Juan Soto? If they sign Juan Soto, does Judge become the DH? If you do that, then what happens to Giancarlo Stanton? Will Judge move over to left field? That's pretty much like playing center field for most teams. That means you don't re-sign Alex Verdugo, which I think a lot of Yankees fans want them to do. So it'll be interesting to see how all that shakes out, but it's going to be a while before the Yankees have to make that decision. However, they do have Dominguez coming back, and he could factor in because he plays center field, which is where Judge is patrolling at the moment.
Drill deep to right field. There it goes. See ya.
Juan Soto, in his first year as a Yankee, has been outstanding. He has been the team MVP so far. He's hitting .316 as of the time of this recording with a .419 on-base percentage, which is right in line with his career on-base percentage of .421. He's got 9 home runs already, so he's on pace for a career high 36. He's got 49 hits already. He's stolen 4 bags. He's got a .967 OPS. He's been clutch, and he's in the middle of a little bit of a slump right now. And if you look at the StatCast numbers, they're just stupid. 99th percentile in batting run value, 79th percentile in fielding run value, so he's taken a nice step forward defensively. And then if you look at the individual metrics, almost everything is 99th percentile or 100th percentile. Even his arm is way better than I expected. 91st percentile in the league. His range has been good. The only thing is that he's not super fast. 38th percentile in the league in sprint speed and 23rd percentile in base running value. But I don't care. I don't care. Get on base, hit home runs, catch the ball, get clutch hits, do all those things, and I don't care if you're slow. He's done a great job. I hope the Yankees re-sign him, but it is going to be expensive, and given the season that he's having, sky is the limit. 500 million, 600 million, 700 million. He could break Shohei's record. I don't know if he will because he doesn't pitch, but in terms of higher average annual value in present-day dollars, there's no question he's going to get more than Shohei because his agent is Scott Boras, and the Mets are going to be willing to give it to him. It's just a question of whether or not Hal is going to ante up. I hope he will. We should force him to. Let's make our voices heard. Juan Soto should be a Yankee for life. Trent Grisham has been the Yankees' fourth outfielder. He hasn't had a lot of playing time. His first hit as a Yankee was a big 3-run home run, but other than that, he really hasn't done much, and when he gets on the bases, he tends to either get thrown out or get picked off. So, not going to spend a lot of time on him. Wouldn't be shocked if he's gone by midseason when Dominguez comes back. Let's finish off the offense by discussing the designated hitter, Giancarlo Stanton, who is doing pretty much what he always does. I'm not going to show you his fielding run value because he has not played the field yet. He is still hitting monster home runs, and he's still hitting unbelievably fast exit velocity home runs. He's got the fastest couple in Major League Baseball once again. He's got the fastest bat speed in Major League Baseball. But he can't run anymore. He doesn't play the field. He doesn't walk. He strikes out a million times. But he has been pretty clutch, and he's been one of the Yankees' better hitters with runners in scoring position this season. He is using the whole field. He is running a little bit better than he was last season, although he's still unbelievably slow. He is in the 6th percentile of base running value. He's in the 6th percentile of sprint speed. And he's pretty much given the Yankees what he always gives the Yankees when healthy. Occasional pop and a threat in the middle of the order. But I think his best baseball days are probably behind him as his legs have kind of gone out from under him over the last few years. Now let's talk about the pitching. I know everybody doesn't join the baseball season right when it begins. It's a long season. And in case you've missed it, Gerrit Cole, the Yankees' ace, has been out all season with edema in his elbow, but he is beginning to ramp up, and the hope is that he can return sometime in June, a little over a month from now. But they have had some positive signs in the rotation in his absence. Let's begin with Carlos Rodon. Carlos Rodon is another guy who needed a bounce-back season. He signed that mega 6-year deal before last season, but posted a 6.85 ERA. This year, the breaking ball has been very good. The velocity's back. He's touching 97, 98. We've seen a couple of 99s. He's got a 3.56 ERA through his first 8 starts. He's averaging a strikeout per inning. He's got 43 innings pitched and 43 strikeouts. The whip continues to drop. It's at 1.26. He's 3-2. And if you look at the StatCast numbers, they're not overwhelming, but his fastball continues to be an excellent pitch in the 91st percentile of run value. Breaking ball run value and off-speed run value are both well below average, but we have seen some much better sliders from him in recent weeks, and that's been part of the climb of his strikeout total. You've seen the 98-mile-an-hour fastball there, backed up by a great slider down and in. So I think that Carlos Rodon has made major strides. I don't think he's the pitcher that he was when he was with the White Sox or with the Giants, but he's done a fine job. Luis Gil has been, in my opinion, one of the most exciting pitchers in baseball this year. He's made 7 starts. He's got a 2.92 ERA. Now, don't forget, in 2021, when he debuted, he made 6 starts and he had a 3.07 ERA, and he had 38 strikeouts and 29 1/3 innings. And he's basically done the same thing. He's back. He's 3-1. He's got 37 innings pitched, a career high, and 45 strikeouts. And if you look at the StatCast numbers, there's a lot of red there. This guy is the real deal, and that's why I've been calling him that since he made his Major League debut. Pitching run value in the 93rd percentile, off-speed run value in the 94th percentile, and fastball run value in the 87th percentile. The guy just doesn't give up a lot of hard contact. He gets a ton of swings and misses. He's incredibly difficult to square up, and he doesn't give up a lot of home runs. This guy is the future of the rotation, believe me, and he's been better with his command lately, although he has had some struggles with it throughout the course of the season. I expect it to improve as the season goes on. He's been spending a lot of time learning from Gerrit Cole. Gerrit Cole recognizes how good this guy can be, and he's been spending a lot of time working with Matt Blake on those off-speed pitches, especially the changeup, which has been phenomenal. Clark Schmidt has been another pleasant surprise. He had about an average year. Last year, he was 9-9 with a 4.64 ERA and 32 starts. This year, he's done an outstanding job. Through 8 starts, He is 4-1 with a 2.95 ERA. He's got 42 2/3 innings pitched. He's got 47 strikeouts, and his whip is at 1.27. He's coming off of a fantastic start against the Rays the other night, in which he went into the 7th inning. His pitching run value is in the 83rd percentile. His breaking ball run value is in the 96th percentile. He gets a ton of whiffs. He gets a ton of strikeouts. Hard hit percentage is in the 64th percentile. Now, is he a perfect pitcher? No. He needs to get deeper into games, but he showed the other night that he can do that when he pitches efficiently early in the game. Expect him to continue to make strides in that area because he's made strides in all the other areas over the last year or so, and he is becoming an excellent part of this rotation. I had supported sending him to the bullpen when Gerrit Cole returns, but I think just recently he's made some strides that make me believe he should remain in the rotation. Moving on, let's talk about Marcus Stroman. He was signed to be a middle-of-the-rotation guy, and he's pitching like a middle-of-the-rotation guy. He's 2-2 with a 3.80 ERA through 8 starts. He's thrown 42 2/3 innings. He's got 40 strikeouts. He's got a 1.50 whip. Now, if you look at his StatCast numbers, they don't love him, except for 2 very important areas: hard hit percentage and ground ball percentage. This is what you would expect from a guy who's a ground ball pitcher. And he's a guy who throws a heavy sinker, so he gets a lot of soft ground balls, gets a lot of balls right back to him. And if he continues to pitch like he's pitching, I think he's worth the contract. So far, I'm very satisfied with Marcus Stroman, not only as a pitcher, but as a teammate. Everybody seems to love him. I think he's done a nice job adjusting to a crowd that could have been very hostile to him if he got off to a slow start. And finally, Nestor Cortes, who's coming back from an injury-plagued season. He made 12 starts last year. He had a 4.97 ERA. This year, he's been a little bit better. He's made 9 starts. He's got a 4.02 ERA. He is 1-4. He's thrown 53 2/3 innings. He struck out 51, so he's got the most innings pitched on the Yankees staff. He's got a 1.08 whip, so he's pretty good at keeping runners off base, but he's had some trouble giving up home runs, as he did the other day. Time to stop throwing those effing meatballs. But Nestor Cortes is a guy who you're not counting on to be your ace. You're counting on him to give you solid outings. And honestly, with the way the other guys have thrown the baseball recently and the way they've trended upwards and he's trended downwards, I think when Gerrit Cole comes back, Nestor Cortes is probably the odd man out. You see some positives in the StatCast numbers: expected ERA, expected batting average, walk percentage, but you also see some downsides. You see the hard hit percentage is not great. You see he gives up too many fly balls. His off speed has a very low run value. So Nestor Cortes is a guy who's kind of hit or miss, pun intended, when he's out there on the mound. Not seeing as much of the shimmy this year, and that's probably a good thing. Now, the Yankees bullpen has had 14 different pitchers make appearances, including Jose Trevino. So I don't have highlights for everybody. There's very rarely highlights on MLB.com for relief pitchers anyway. So we're going to go through and just kind of talk through the stats here. Clay Holmes, obviously phenomenal stats. He's given us some heart attack moments, but he's always seemed to come through. He's already got 12 saves and a 0 ERA. I think he's pitching like an all-star for sure. 17 1/3 innings, 21 strikeouts, and a 1.038 whip. Ian Hamilton has been a little bit up and down, not as deadly as he was last year. He's got a 2.79 ERA. I think he might be pitching hurt. You know, you see some signs from him that maybe the arm looks a little bit uncomfortable. I'll be watching to see if something happens there. Dennis Santana's been a nice find. He's 2-0 with a 4.58 ERA, eats some innings, capable of the dominant outing, but also capable of imploding, as we saw yesterday. Caleb Ferguson, 0-3 with a 3.95 ERA. He's pitched better as of late. They've stopped using him in huge, high-leverage situations. And Victor Gonzalez, 2-1 with a 2.84 ERA. He's basically the new Joely Rodriguez. Luke Weaver has been a guy that's gotten a lot of attention. He's done great. He's pitching in more high-leverage situations. 3-0 with a 2.59 ERA, 25 strikeouts in 24 1/3 innings. Nick Birdie was a nice find. He's got a 0 ERA. Jonathan Loaizaga out for the season. And Ron Marinaccio showing some improvement this year. 1.42 ERA after a tough year last year. So, state of the Yankees seems to be that they're pretty good. as Larry David would say, pretty good. And they're on pace for roughly 100 wins. I don't know what's going to shake out when Jason Dominguez and Garrett Cole come back to the roster, but those are storylines to watch. But I think overall this team is in very, very good shape.